After leaving the corporate 9 to 5 grind, I became the boss of my own spiritual business, helping others explore and navigate the human experience from insight, wisdom, and lessons learned along the way. Today, I help aspiring spiritual entrepreneurs gain the confidence to share their gifts with the world. Welcome to the Happy Healing Shop podcast. I'm your host, Trang Pham Nguyen, and each week we'll dive into incredible stories of strength, resilience, and transformation. So, if you are ready for some serious breakthroughs, laughs and tears, and stories that will inspire you, you are in the right place, my friend. Let's get started. Hello and welcome back. It has been a couple months since I've put out a podcast episode, and part of it was one, I was actually running out of ideas on what to record and to say, and I didn't want to create any filler episodes because I felt like that wouldn't do you guys justice. I think the hardest part about that was being able to accept it and also knowing that sometimes in life there might not be anything happening, or maybe sometimes your creative juices are totally zapped out. So, also another thing is I took a solo trip to South America just for myself. It's been my bucket list for the past 5 years now. For those who don't know much of my background, I absolutely love traveling. I usually go solo because most people can't take off work to be able to go as long as I do, to be able to kind of just go and hop on to the other side of the world. So during any travels or retreats, or when you have time for yourself, I usually have moments of reflection or even insights or things that make me go, aha, that is a good point. So I think when your brain is in a more relaxed state, a lot of ideas or a lot of downloads can happen. Before I get into the lessons and little nuggets of wisdom that I got during my travels, in this episode, I'm actually going to share about the transition of coming home first. So, back in 2014, I actually was overseas for 2 years traveling. And so, coming back, there was a big hit of depression. Because this was more of a 2, 3 month trip, a trip that's still on the longer side, I knew the emotions and feelings that I was going to encounter when I came back home because I've had exposure to it before, right? And I wanted to share this with you because it clicked with me that even though this is my emotions, my feelings, and my thoughts post travel, I think it can actually be applied to any change or transition that you're going through in life. And sometimes it's really complex and there's so many shades and layers to it that it's really hard to articulate and explain it to someone who hasn't been in your shoes. So, returning from a long, especially international trip, it brought a whole whirlwind of emotions. And even though I knew it was coming, it still didn't make it that much easier. There's a shift in your environment, the routine, and experiences. And so, on a positive note, coming home, there was a little sense of relief and comfort because you're not living outside of a backpack or a suitcase anymore. And there is a sense of, oh, I have a home base. This home feels very familiar and things may be a bit more routine. So this can feel very grounding. And number two, there is this part of a slight depression, but it kind of is attached to this feeling of longing and nostalgia. I had a very unique experience abroad. Every trip has its own memories. And I'm already starting to miss the people, the places, and the many spontaneous moments I encountered. Number three is culture shock. Yes, there can be culture shock coming back home, especially I felt it with the prices back here in the States. And it could even be the way we do things here, the way we dress. It just feels a bit disorienting. Next point, one of the main emotions I felt the first week I got back home was overwhelmed because there's just so many things to do. There's unpacking, catching up on responsibilities, taking care of any issues with the car, bills. It just felt like all of a sudden I had a huge list of things to do. And of course, it was my own self that's putting pressure on it. But going from a life of adventure and everything is open ended to this is back to reality is very daunting. And with that, there is a huge sense of fatigue. For the past couple of weeks, even though I knew no one really cared, I did have a sense of pressure of, oh my goodness, I haven't put out any podcast episodes. I haven't interacted with my community. And it wouldn't feel like I have a sense of guilt, but more so of just a sense of urgency. And also with the whirlwind of coming back home, I just felt completely exhausted mentally. Yet on the opposite spectrum of feeling fatigue, there is also this sense of restlessness, kind of like itchy feet when you can't travel anymore. And so there is this high and feeling of novelty when you travel and you're exploring new places, meeting new people, or even observing them. And so when you come home, the routine, things that might feel familiar can feel quite boring. And with that comes a restlessness and craving for adventure again. Not just the adventure, but more so the excitement and being mentally stimulated. Throughout my trip, and of course, after my trip, there is a lot of growth, but I'd say more so reflection. With time, I'm able to look back at my trip. And throughout my trip, I was still able to jot down little notes, but coming home, I'm able to realize how much every trip I take has expanded my perspective, my horizons, and a lot of realizations about myself and what I want. And the reason why I love, absolutely love long term travel and especially international travel is that over time, you're able to see the things that you want in life because you're not surrounded by people that are telling you what you should or should not do. Like you're absolutely on your own, free to do whatever you want. And over time, you start seeing, and this I see more so with long term travel, not a short 2 week trip, but more so seeing the changes in yourself and what you've learned about yourself and things you can or cannot put up with anymore. And with that reflection comes, of course, gratitude. And it could just be giving you perspective on being grateful and appreciative of what you have back home, whether it's the people, the family, or friends that you have roots with, or maybe even feeling comfort of being inside your own home versus living out of a hotel. Now, with the post travel blues or any sadness or depression that you might be going through, at least for me, it feels like, again, it's a closing of a chapter, the end of a chapter. So, in a sense, there's a little bit of grieving there and saying goodbye for now, that way of life or the feeling of freedom that travel brought for me. But I also think that this is where a lot of us, whether you're traveling or not, or you're going through some life transition or change, there is a feeling of disconnect. And this is where it feels really difficult. And so, for example, I'll talk about why, for me, it's often hard to come home. I've had this incredible experience. There was so much excitement, so much inspiration I got from it. Over 10 years ago, like I previously mentioned, I went on a very long trip across the world. And when you travel, there's so much that you see. And so when you come home, you think there's going to be change as well. But I was warned that everything will be exactly the same back home. And the thing is, when you come home, everything might look the same when you come back, but you are not the same. The thing that's changed is you. And that can be very disorienting. And that's part of, you can call it leveling up or evolving. And when you evolve as a human and when you evolve as a person, it's usually for the better, but there's a lot of discomfort that comes with it. You can't evolve without discomfort. So, coming home, you're bursting at the seams with this new version of yourself, but maybe you're not quite sure where it fits in your old life back home. To be honest, travel is a very passionate hobby of mine, and unfortunately, not everyone shares or cares for it. Sometimes you can share your stories, but it feels like a lot of people don't get it or their eyes start glazing over. So the conversation doesn't go far, it doesn't go deep. It's just surface level, to be honest. And so you might be thinking, how can they not understand? How do they not see that I'm excited or passionate about this? And with our community, I know that is a very common pain point when they feel like they don't have a safe place to talk to people about spirituality without getting weird looks or dismissive comments. So, with this feeling of disconnect, which can bring depression mixed with trying to transition coming back home. So, how do you fix or how do you cope with this? It takes time. So, here are a few ideas. And it doesn't have to be with travel, but any big life transition or an experience where you feel like you've changed and evolved. So, I say do the watered down version if you can. How do you stay connected to that energy you felt when you were traveling? What I found worked for me is meeting up with very like minded people who share the same interests. And coincidentally, that week that I came home and was really struggling emotionally and mentally, there was an online travel happy hour where we were able to swap stories and keep that sense of adventure alive. And this is where you're surrounded by people that actually truly do get what you're going through and your journey. Next is reflecting on what you've learned. So, this could be taking time to journal, jot down notes about your experiences, maybe some of the lows or some of the highlights that happened, things that you might have discovered about yourself, or maybe any new perspectives that you gained, or what things you want to do differently now. And sometimes putting those thoughts down in words or sharing them with others who are interested in hearing it can help process the shift that you're going through. Honestly, I've already started planning my next adventure because having something to look forward to can totally make all the difference. And I think sometimes people think, oh, are you trying to run away from your problems or your current life? But it's more so about keeping that sense of curiosity and possibility and adventurer. I remember a friend telling me that most of the time, a lot of the happiness that comes from traveling and trips is actually when people are starting to plan it because they are looking forward to the trip. And a lot of the happiness occurs more during that process than the trip itself. And finally, take things slow and be patient with yourself. This is something that's really hard for me to do, but with any change in life, it's hard. Transitions take time. They're never smooth sailing ever. And a lot of people won't understand you. And it's more so of taking time to feel okay with that and knowing that the experience you had is always going to be uniquely yours. And that's what makes it so special. And I'm still trying to learn and accept this is the fact that life is always going to be full of transitions. And the more we're able to move through any season of change, whether it's a new job, relationship, or even a new perspective or a new version of yourself, the key is to honor the growth, to honor you for choosing to evolve, even when it feels very messy and very uncomfortable. With that, if you enjoyed this episode or found it helpful, please share it with a friend who might be going through a transition or could use some uplifting advice. And also hit that follow button so you don't miss out on any episodes coming up. I'd be really grateful if you left me a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify as well. And remember, the fun does not stop here. In fact, it continues over at thehappyhealingshop.com, where you'll find tons of resources to help you on your spiritual journey, including our blog posts, guides, video series, and more. Until we meet again, my friend, always remember to shine your light brightly and to share your story because you never know who it can help, give hope to, or inspire to create a change in their own world. Thank you so much for being here with me, and I'll see you next time.